Okay, looks like we're starting in Classic. That is kind of what I wanted anyway. I mostly wanted to play the game through in Classic. I'll probably toggle to Anniversary a few times. Anniversary in this game is a lot better than Anniversary in Halo 1 in terms of maintaining the visual style.
There was only one chip.
One? Are you sure?
Yes, they called it the Pillar of Autumn.
Why was it not destroyed with the rest of their fleet?
It fled as we set fire to their planet. But I followed with all the ships in my command.
When you first saw Halo, were you blinded by its majesty?
Blinded?
Paralyzed? Dumbstruck?
No.
Yet the humans were able to evade your ships, land on the sacred ring, and desecrate it with their filthy footsteps.
Noble hierarchs, surely you understand that once the parasite attacked,
There will be order in this council.
You were right to focus your attention on the Flood. But this demon, this Master Chief...
by the time I learned the demon's intent, there was nothing I could do.
Noble prophet of truth, this has gone on long enough. Make an example of this bungler. The council demands it.
You are one of our most treasured instruments. Long have you led your fleet with honor and distinction. But your inability to safeguard Halo was a colossal failure.
Nay, it was heresy.
I will continue my campaign against the humans.
No, you will not. Soon the great journey shall begin. But when it does, the weight of your heresy will stay your feet, and you shall be left behind.
Oh, that Starfield looks low-res by today's standards.
The plating was about to fail. There's viscosity throughout the gel layer. Optics, totally fried. And let's not even talk about the power supply. You know how expensive this gear is, son?
Tell that to the Covenant.
Oh right, there's a loading screen between these sections. So, in the original Xbox release of Halo 2, Bungie had tried to do the single load time trick. Effectively,
Well, I guess it was all
The
obsolete
game-
anyway. Your new suit's a Mark
God,
6,
yeah,
just
there's
came
still
up
no
from
in-game
Songname
sound,
this morning. Try and
subtitles.
take it easy until you get used to the upgrades. Okay, let's test your targeting first thing. Please look at the top light. Good. Now look at the bottom light. All right, look at the top light again. That's it. Now the bottom one. Okay. Everything checks out. Stand by. I'm gonna offline the inhibitors.
right, hopefully
Move
he'll...
around a little. Get a feel for it. When you're ready, come meet me by the zapper.
Right, he'll stop talking for a bit now, so I've got time to talk. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh. Ooh, I hit the anniversary button and now it's... Oh, there we go. Just wanted to contrast the anniversary graphics. As you can see, first impressions very true to the original.
Pay attention, because I'm only going over this once.
Shut up.
This station will test your recharging energy shields.
Right, so anyway, Halo 2. The first things we've already seen now is we've got a lot more insight into the Covenant. We've already seen new races that we hadn't seen before, the Prophets, who are kind of like the leadership class of Covenant. and the Brutes, who are a new combat class of Covenant. We don't actually fight Brutes until much later in the game, and I have many things to say about the Brutes in this game, none of them good. So we're already being given some narrative insight into the Covenant, I guess, that we didn't previously have. Like in Halo 1, the only Covenant characters we can even understand are the Grunts, and they're effectively comic relief characters. Whereas here we're getting the aftermath of the events of Halo 1. Is there anything else I can talk about here? I did talk about in Halo 1 how the look calibration thing. The look calibration thing that we just did was something that you are only forced to do on every playthrough if you play on normal or heroic difficulty. Sorry, normal or easy difficulty. If you play on heroic or hard or legendary, you are not required to do the look calibration. In Halo 2, you have to do the look calibration for every difficulty, but this armory level is literally just this and some plot beat, and then it moves on. So unless you're being particularly in-depth with how you're playing the game, there's no reason to ever replay this section, except for either speedrunning purposes or demonstration purposes. Like, you could always skip this thing. Unless, of course, you play Master Chief Collection, there's a playlist which loads you into it as well, apparently. Anyway, he wants to do our shield recharging.
Step on in, I'll show you. Your new armored shields are extremely resilient, very efficient. Bingo! As you can see, they recharge a lot faster.
Yeah, so there's a slight change
If
to
your shields go
the...
down, find some cover, wait for the meter to read fully charged.
That, or you can hide behind me.
You
Slight
doing
change
my
to
boy here, Master
the
Guns?
trauma
I
system.
don't see any
You
change.
no longer have a
His
visible
armor's
health
working
bar.
fine, Johnson, so shut your chilly hole. You're free to go, son. Just remember, take things slow.
Don't worry, I'll hold his hand.
Yeah, you no longer have a visible health bar. You do still have health, and it's regenerating health now, but not much of it. And your armor just...
Come on, Chief. They're ready for us on the bridge.
as it says, it recharges quicker, but that's mostly to compensate for the fact that you don't have a health bar to feed into anymore.
Get on the lift, Chief. We're gonna be late.
So, Johnson, when you gonna tell me how you made it back home in one piece?
Sorry, Guns. It's classified.
My ass! Well, you can forget about those adjustments to your A2 scope.
Well, he's in a particularly fine mood. Maybe Lord Hood didn't give him...
Yeah, we're getting some crosstalk here, aren't we? Maybe that's a bit better. I think there is a way to out-of-bounds your way on this thing. Yeah, I think I'll let it go for one thing. The other thing that's changed in Anniversary Edition is all the cutscenes are pre-rendered. I think they're done by Blur Studios, so they look really quite impressive, as opposed to in classic Halo 2, where they're all in engine. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about the single load thing. So on the Xbox version, the game effectively goes through one single long loading screen when you first start load up a campaign, be it a new campaign or loading up an existing save, and then it wants to go through the entire campaign without ever putting you through a loading screen. The way that they accomplish this is primarily through data streaming. Unfortunately, their data streaming rate did not match up with the rate at which they need to swap in models sometimes. So the player model, you always have a player model as Master Chief. Annoyingly, you can't see it at the moment because I'm holding a weapon that exists only for this section of the game that just is an invisible weapon. But normally you can look down and see your own legs. So you always have a player model in the game, and that's necessary for co-op play. But the model that they use during gameplay is a lower quality model in terms of polygon count and the like than the one they use in cutscenes. So when cutscenes start, they have to swap out effectively load in the high resolution model, and it meant you just had some horrible texture popping a lot of the time. Master Chief Collection just loads in each level individually, which is... It kind of spoils the effect a little bit, but it never really worked anyway, so... We'll go through this being an anniversary style, I guess.
Haven't seen it in years. When I shipped out for basic, the orbital defense grid was all theory and politics. Now look, the Cairo is just one of 300 geosync platforms. That Mac gun can put a round clean through a Covenant capital ship. Coordinated fire from the Athens and the Malta, nothing's getting past this battle cluster in one piece.
So I've never understood the math on this. If I remember right,
Ships been arriving all morning.
There was meant to
Nobody's
be...
saying much, but I'll bet something big's about to happen.
There was meant to be 12 orbital cannons around Reach, I believe, when that battle took place. And this one, there claims to be 300 around Earth, which I understand why Earth would be more heavily defended. But, seems like a lot. Okay, so this is going to load us into a pre-rendered cutscene now, because I entered into this in anniversary mode. We'll at least see one cutscene that Blur have done and have a look at their visual effects.
You told me there wouldn't be any cameras.
And you told me you were gonna wear something nice. Folks need heroes, Chief, to give them hope. So smile, would you? Well, we still got something to smile about.
They're still using the original voice recordings, although they have added some extra reverb to Sergeant Johnson's lines there to reflect the setting. So unfortunately, because I've done this, I can't point out that this cutscene doesn't really work in the in-engine version. So the way that this cutscene is meant to present is it hard cuts between what's going on with this elite character, who I'll just spoil it, it's the Arbiter. This game's been out for like 16, 17 years.
Disappointed. Are you sure?
So it's meant to hard cut between the Arbiter and what's going on with the Master Chief, to reflect the different outcomes of the events of Halo 1, that, you know, the heroes from Halo 1 are being rewarded, the human characters, and the leader of the Covenant from Halo 1 is being very heavily punished.
Lucky to have you back. Go ahead, Cortana.
But the engine just can't deal with the hard cuts, it just doesn't
I
play.
apologize, but we're going to have to make this quick.
You look nice.
Thank you.
Sergeant Major, the Colonial Cross is awarded for acts of singular daring and devotion. For a soldier of the United Earth Space Corps.
There can be no greater heresy.
Yeah, that's meant to be like the match cut there.
Who would break our covenant?
In the engine, it doesn't really play in the way they've done it in the cuts because of the long hesitation.
Commander Miranda Keyes. Your father's
And
action
here we
for
have
achieving the highest
Commander
positions
Keyes,
of
who
military
is
service.
Captain Keyes'
His
daughter.
bravery in the face of impossible odds
Blur
reflects great
made the
respect
effort to
upon
not
himself
have a look like a
and
12-year-old,
the
which is something that
The Navy
Bungie never
has
did
lost
in
one
either
of
Halo
its
2 or Halo 3. I think I talked during Halo 1 about how Captain Keyes is kind of bad at his job and fails to uphold the Cole Protocol. Miranda is worse. Miranda is even worse than her dad. Nobody ever calls her out for it. We're meant to like her, but she's bad. She is directly responsible for a lot of the endangerment.
Ruptures directly off our battle cluster.
Show me.
15 Covenant capital ships holding position just outside the kill zone.
This is Fleet Admiral Harper. We are engaging the enemy.
Negative, Admiral. Form a defensive perimeter around the cluster. Commander, get to your ship. Link up with the fleet.
Yes, sir.
You have the Mac gun, Cortana. As soon as they come in range, open up.
Gladly.
Something's not right. The fleet that destroyed Reach was 50 times this size.
Sir, additional contacts. Boarding craft and lots of them.
They're going to try to take our MAC guns offline. Give their capital ships a straight shot at Earth.
So that's saying 15.
Master Chief, defend this station.
Yes, sir. I need a weapon.
Right this way.
Because I thought I remembered in Fall of Reach it said there were about 300 Covenant ships that arrived. But if there are 15 here now and he says 50 times that size, that's more like 750. That's more than double. Right, okay, let's switch back to classic graphics. Right, so we're going to get introduced to some new stuff straight away. Excuse me. Sorry, my mechanic coat. Okay, so first thing, new weapon, battle rifle, has a scope. Fires in 3-round bursts. The first shot is always exactly on target, no matter how rapidly you're firing. The other 2 shots do start to have some spread. That wasn't true in the original release of Halo 2. In original release of Halo 2, the spread covered all 3 shots, which meant that the battle rifle was kind of crap, especially in multiplayer. They made the first shot always line up in one of the early patches for the Xbox version of Halo 2, and that kind of made it viable because you could line up headshots with it more reliably. We also have the SMG. So the SMG is kind of taking the position of what was the assault rifle in Halo 1. It's a spray and pray weapon. It does very low damage per shot, but does spits out a lot of shots. There's a lot of recoil associated with it, so I'm just going to hold down the trigger and show how much this recoils if I don't move the mouse at all. So you can see that was a lot of climb for not touching the mouse. You can manage that a lot better by feathering the trigger, so this is just me like clicking on and off the mouse the whole time. You can see it got pretty bad by the end, but a lot better than just holding it down. The other thing that Halo 2 introduces is dual wielding. So, for weapons that can be held in a single hand, you can hold 2 at a time. Right? This was touted as the big Halo 2 feature. This has problems, primarily to do with the gameplay loop. So, when you're holding 2 weapons, you can't do a melee attack without dropping one of your weapons. So, doing a melee attack is kind of a massive risk reward now. Because if you're going to do it, you lose half your firepower. Because generally speaking, most weapons you can dual wield are not particularly worth holding on their own. The other problem is, while you're holding 2 weapons, you have no access to your grenades until you drop one of your weapons. So, yeah, you can't throw grenades while you're dual wielding, which makes a certain kind of sense, but effectively what it leans into is dual wielding becomes a massive trade-off, because you're losing 2 major tools of your gameplay loop just by the fact that you're holding 2 weapons, and quite frankly, especially in the multiplayer, it never really worked for me. They really want to push these SMGs. It was the default spawning weapon for a long time in the multiplayer before they switched it out for the battle rifle. There should be a pistol somewhere around here as well I can show off.
Stand by. They're latched.
Okay, yeah, pistol.
Check your
So
targets,
pistol
watch the crossfire. They're in standard
does
formation.
no longer has a
Bastards in
scope
front, bang one in the
and
back. Just like
just it's pepper fire. It doesn't do much damage. It works out well for SWAT base game mode. So if nobody has shields, it's quite fun to use the pistols for headshotting. But the pistol is just entirely outclassed by the battle rifle. There's no situation where you would prefer a pistol over a battle rifle, I don't think. And the damage output is low enough that most other dual wield weapons are preferable. Right, okay, we've talked about weapons. So here's the first combat encounter.
Field of fire on that bulkhead. As soon as that door opens.
Again, you can see that the anniversary graphics staying pretty true to the original. unlike in Halo 1 Anniversary. So on normal difficulty, you can kind of chew through enemies, and I'm sure you won't get away with it nowadays on Master Chief Collection. Oh, the other problem with dual wielding is you reload really slow while you're carrying two weapons. So the thing is, with what you used to be able to get away with in multiplayer was if you're dual wielding SMGs and you feather the triggers, your rate of fire was high enough that you could actually kind of mulch through people who didn't realise that that was a thing you could do. I'm sure nowadays the people who are still left playing Halo 2 Online know well enough not to just get caught by someone just spraying from an SMG, but you could get some decent damage output by doing that. Covenant weapons are basically the same as they were in Halo 1, so the plasma rifle and the plasma pistol pretty much fill the exact same role as they did. They're dual wieldable now. The Needler is also dual wieldable. By making them dual wieldable, the Needler in particular becomes a lot more relevant because when the Needler could only be held single wieldable, if that's a word, you couldn't really get the rate of shots out enough to be able to reliably get the explosions to go off, whereas by making it dual wieldable, you do get that to work a lot more reliably. I forgot that the enemies just melt even on normal difficulty. The difficulty tuning in Halo 2 is wild. Okay. I should probably use the battle rifle soon. We'll have a better opportunity to use the battle rifle later on because we'll get look how long this reload takes. Oh, so long. We'll later in the level we get access to a shotgun, for which we'll be taking over the SMGs because, as I said, the SMGs are not great weapons. That you can get away with them on this level of difficulty on the campaign, but again, they're a weapon of last resort in multiplayer. Like, that's how long the reload takes if you're not dual wielding, by the way. That's just clip out, clip in, done. But no, if you're playing, if you're dual wielding them, that takes an absolute age. So, this level, Cairo Station. So we're meant to be on board a... Okay, here's our first grenades. Grenades are the same as in Halo 1. You get the human grenades that are just normal frag grenades. They bounce once and explode. You've got Covenant grenades, which are sticky grenades. So if they come into contact... Oh, that explosion effect can go off. If they come into contact with an enemy, that enemy just instantly dies when it detonates. Yeah, so we're on board one of the orbital stations around Earth. A Covenant fleet have appeared. And we're fighting them off.
The Malta's already driven off its borders.
Malta, what is your status? Over.
I don't believe it! They're retreating! We won!
This is bad. Real bad.
Yeah, so in terms of the level design, this is very similar to Pillar of Autumn in many ways. There's a lot of just these rooms where you get close and you just have to clear out waves of enemies coming out of these Seraph ships. It's not particularly interesting. The interiors are just drab and grey, even in Anniversary. Honestly, it's kind of a shame they went back to this kind of template for an opening level. I was going to say something about those ships exploding. I don't remember. What I was going to say.
Hostiles have reached the Fort Mac Bay.
But yeah, you get grenades a lot earlier in the level compared to Halo 1, because in Halo 1 we established that if you're playing on Heroic, you get the grenades immediately. If you're playing on lower than Heroic, you don't get the grenades until like the last encounter of the tutorial level. Again, once we get further into the game, we'll be avoiding dual wielding as much as possible. It's just that in this level, you don't get many options, if I'm perfectly honest. You get... like, you can lean on the battle rifle a lot more, but you don't get much ammo for it, really. Unless you're willing to keep backtracking the entire time to keep going to pick up more. So,
Uh-oh. Hey, they're leaving the Athens.
Oh, there's a red lead that you find in this room.
Cortana, assessment.
That explosion came from inside the Athens, same as the Malta. The Covenant must have brought something with them. A bomb.
Then they sure as hell brought one here. Chief, find it.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to comment on. So these stations, yeah, you also can't scope while you're dual wielding as well. These stations are meant to be named after the locations that they're geosynchronous over. Now, I'm not an astronaut, I don't know for certain, but the first one that exploded was the Malta. Now, Malta is an island that is kind of off the coast of Italy, which is, depending on whether you're doing Anniversary or Classic, it's up there, right? And the Athens, that should be over Greece, which is there. And we're on board the Cairo, which is obviously capital of Egypt, which I assume is somewhere in that area. I will admit, my geography knowledge of Africa is not as good as it probably should be. But I know it's in this approximate area. Point being, it's not below us. You know, I don't think that's attributed. Excuse me. I don't think that's attributable to orbital rotation either. So, a bit weird that we're this far out from where we should be. Anyway, so we've been told, hey, the Covenant have brought a bomb with them. So, hey, there's a bomb threat. The bomb threat kind of... oh, excuse me. The bomb threat kind of doesn't matter. There's no actual urgency to deal with it. We can spend as long as we want. There's no time limit. There's no threat lingering over us to force us to deal with it. It's just plot. How did that overshoot so bad? We do still have a flashlight, don't we? Yes, we do. This room is always weirding me out because as you step forward, you hit a loading zone, and then in that loading zone, the lights just dim, and there's no actual tell for it. It just happens. Oh, there you go. So this is your first encounter with invisible elites. Do you want?
Get the hell out of my armory, split lip!
Oh, he's actually putting up a fight for once. Usually he dies before he even gets to dial. So we're back to the armory from the start of the game. The gunnery sergeant is now died, but we can borrow a shotgun, which is a much better weapon than the SMG that we were using. Though again, the game very much wants you to use an SMG because here's all these SMGs. Yeah, so it's like, no, we're done with that now because it's a bad weapon. So the shotgun is nowhere near as good as the shotgun in the original Halo. Obviously, if you get into point blank range, which I'll try and show off here. Okay, that only took out his shield. Yeah, you have to be in like properly point blank range for it to actually be an instant kill through shield like that. If you remember during the flood levels in Halo 1, you could actually kind of do crowd control pretty well with the shotgun, even at like medium range. But now, by this game, it's all been tapered down. You can't do that anymore. Why are the grenades not cocking properly? Like, it did explode, but it didn't make any sound or apparent animation. I mean, I wasn't looking directly at it, but that's not the first grenade that's just kind of whiffed visually. I don't know whether that's something wrong with my install or a bug that's introduced in Season 8 or what. Anyway, here's how Miranda looks in the engine.
Come on, Chief, this way.
I was almost on board when they showed up.
Don't worry, ma'am. We're on it.
As I say, like, basically like a 12-year-old. It gets worse in Halo 3 as well. Can you stop moving around?
Thanks, Chief. I owe you one.
Yeah, she looks
Get going. I'll cover the
a lot more like an actual adult who might be a military commander in Anniversary compared to yeah, she looked Cortana if there is as much time as we bloody well need. Okay, that grenade procced. That melee kind of whiffed. So this area is interesting. They actually let you go outside the space station, and in the section they muffle the audio and also give you lower gravity, which is pretty cool. This is hard to contrast it. You can actually, using a grenade jump, you can actually get on top of the station and start running around the top as well. You're not supposed to, but you can. So this thing marked FFG 142, this is actually Miranda Keyes' ship that's docked to the space station. So that's in amberclad. Again, so there's an invisible wall here that pushes you back. So I'm trying to run forward, but that's it. Oh, by the way, you can see your body model now that I've got weapons. But yeah, in fact, we'll give it a go. So I think what you do to get on top of it is you have to grenade jump up here and then go around and get onto the front that way. So we'll try it once. I didn't quite get the clearance. There we go, we're up. So similar to the Pillar of Autumn level in Halo 1, the exterior of this is actually all to scale with the interiors, which is interesting. So all the interior spaces are actually internal to this actual structure. As a matter of fact, we'll probably be able to see this bridge here is somewhere we'll be going across later in the level. In fact, I've never actually tried to see whether you can get down to there from here, and if you can, whether that skips a section. I might have to try that. Yep, so now we're on top of an amberclad, which is, again, this is Miranda Keyes' ship. I suspect this is built to scale as well, although this is much smaller than the Pillar of Autumn, because the Pillar of Autumn was 1 kilometre long, even in game scale, let alone in what's in the books and stuff. So,
Sir, boarders have breached the fire control center. They have a bomb.
Can you defuse it?
Yes, but I'll need the Chief's help to make contact with the detonator.
Chief, get to the bomb, double time.
right.
Cortana, prioritize targets and fire at will.
I suspect we're going to hit a kill playing, so I'd be amazed if the game lets us do this, but I am just curious to know, can I directly just go down to this bridge? And if I can, is it even going to load the next section properly? Because the thing is, this bridge should be animating anyway. Effectively, every time this gun fires, this bridge should be recoiling with the shot, and it isn't doing. Okay, yeah, so this section of the map isn't even properly loaded. So this door here on the left is where we're meant to go once we've crossed this bridge legitimately, and the door's just not even loaded in, so we can't do this right now. So the next question is, can I get back into the level, or do I have to just reload from save? That's a thought. I've never actually tried to look behind me once I come out of that door to see if I can get back up here. So again, I'm gonna guess the geometry is slightly different when you get this area loaded in the way it should be. But we'll take a look, let's see if we can get up here. I somehow doubt it. This is where the game wants us to go.
First echelon, you're with me. Blanket those cruisers.
I think there is also some shotgun ammo. So we're going to see our first encounter with a new type of enemy. So these are drones. They're vaguely insectoid. They fly around. They're individually very weak. They almost universally, I believe, wield plasma pistols. So individually, no single drone is ever really a threat, but collectively, they, especially on the high difficulties, there's the shotgun. No, that's not that one. On the high difficulties, they pepper you with so many shots that it's really, they can really just chew through your shield, especially in some of the later games. They're an interesting addition, I guess. It's exploiting the gamers don't look up phenomenon. I can't speak tonight, I've got a sore throat happening. It's late. This is my second stream of the night anyway. So, this here is the bridge that I was discussing, that we just went down to. So this freight elevator will take us down to it. But we're not going to wait for it, I'm going to take the opportunity to come back and pick up some ammo. Okay, so we might as well. Am I right in remembering there's a shotgun around here? I can reload later on. I don't need it urgently, I just vaguely remember there being a shotgun in this room. So that was an anniversary. The same but prettier, which again is better than Halo 1 Anniversary, which is just garish at all times.
The carriers are breaking through, sir. They're heading straight for the Cairo.
This acts as a loading zone.
On the first carrier.
So, this area absolutely sucks if you're playing on high difficulties, because that elite on the gunner takes a hell of a lot of shots to take down. You can't easily close the distance because you've got two elites also peppering you with gunfire, and yeah, it just sucks. Okay, so there's an invisible wall here to prevent me from going this low. Okay, that's interesting. I just wanted to know whether I could, because this is the geometry I just came down from, but clearly by going through the interior it's rejigged the area. This bridge is now animating. In fact, is this slightly larger scale? I have to compare the footage, but possibly. And this is the door that just wasn't loaded before. So let's go down. So as I said, this lift confuses me. It's like a triangular shape. It's weird. On high difficulties, this room absolutely sucks. Because hey, there's like 4 elites in here. And they're all facing you when you come in, so they all know you're here. You'd have no opportunity to stealth your way through. There's some ammo here? No, not there. Where's the ammo? There's some ammo here somewhere. Smoking G, there's a battle rifle.
Glad you're here, sir.
What are you doing back here? I did not know there was a marine in this room. So one thing there is in this room, so this is meant to be the fire control for the weapon. This thing slides back and forth just constantly every time the maximum fires. You can get crushed by it, so that's something to be aware of. Are you kidding me? I know that's a red elite, but nevertheless, I shotgunned him and meleeed him. For an elite, that should be death. Especially on normal difficulty. Like, the enemies should not be that hard on normal difficulty. So I don't know how well that plays, but that was kind of me showing off how bad the shotgun is at range now. Like, that probably would have been death for an elite in Halo 1, even if it was that range, but yeah, you can't trigger the next event until you've cleared out this room and walk up to the bomb.
Me inside your head now.
Yeah, so because we're in classic graphics, we're now back to it in engine cutscenes.
You don't want to know.
Cairo, this is an Amber class. The carrier shield is down. I'm in position and ready for immediate assault.
Negative, Commander. Not against a ship that size. Not on your own.
Sir, permission to leave the station.
For what purpose, Master Chief?
To give the Covenant back their bomb.
Permission granted.
So this upcoming scene is effectively repurposing the original reveal trailer that they gave when they announced Halo 2. The bomb wasn't present, but this elevator ride and the following scene are mostly the same as the reveal cutscene. But I'm not going to dig it out, but the reveal cutscene demonstrates the engine downgrades that happened during this game's development. So, much like the original Halo, Halo 2 had quite a troubled development cycle.
Just one question. What if you miss?
I won't.
The most notable was that so at the E3 for, what would it be, E3 2004, so about 6 months before the game's coming out, they did a demo. And the demo was quite impressive. It was pretty much the thing that sold me on the game. Anyway, it turns out the demo was practically all smoke and mirrors. They have since Bungie staff kind of claimed that if you went anywhere off path, the demo would practically just crash, like it was so brittle. 343 a couple of years ago did an anniversary stream where they pulled out the original build of that demo and they tried to make it crash and they couldn't. It was actually surprisingly robust. But ultimately what was in that demo was not able to be shipped as playable, was the point. And that was also using a version of the engine that, following that E3 reveal, they kind of decided that they just couldn't get it to work at the level of performance they wanted on retail Xboxes. There is no way I can get the verification for this, so this is hearsay, but I'm pretty sure I heard that part of the problem was they
He flew pretty good.
Chief,
didn't factor in the fact
gear
that the
up.
dev kits had more
We're taking
RAM
this back to the surface.
than the retail kits until too late. I think that was Halo 2. There was certainly some game that had that. I don't know. Anyway, so the point being, with 6 months left to go, they pretty much scrapped their entire engine and had to start over. Which means this game came in incredibly hot. And it's kind of a miracle it actually worked at all. I mean, obviously the biggest legacy of this game is not so much the campaign, but the multiplayer, because this was kind of like the first big Xbox Live multiplayer game, and it was the first game that had playlists and matchmaking, as opposed to the usual PC style of online gaming, which was server lists and people paying for dedicated servers. So for people who come from a console background, like I did back in 2004, it was kind of the first experience with online shooters. So this stage is kind of all that's left of the... Well, no, this stage and the following stage are kind of adapted from the settings of the E3 demo, but they're very much changed.
Stand by to...
We're also getting introduced to a new type of Covenant vehicle here, the Scarab. So in Halo 2, the Scarab is represented as kind of like almost like a Covenant super weapon. In reality, it's not actually a vehicle. It is a game object. It's practically the same in logic as the Pelican. It's a game object that runs on a script. You can't do anything to actually affect it. So as soon as you see past the veneer, it doesn't really work. Right, so I don't think we're going to play this whole level because it's already 20 to midnight. I've been streaming for nearly an hour as it is. I did 2 hours of Metroid Dread earlier. My throat is hurting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show off a couple of things in the first half of this level, just that I can easily show off nice and quick, and then I'm going to restart the level, and then we'll save and quit from there and do this level from scratch legitimately, because parts of this level really drag on. So first of all, if you jump onto this light fitting here, and up to this ledge. Nope, I failed it. I'll try again. There we go, up to this ledge. And down this corridor, we get our first skull. Now the skulls, most of the skulls in this game can only be found on legendary difficulty. This one is the only one that appears on all difficulties. And this skull is blind. Whoops, that was the wrong one. So you can pick it up with the action button, and it removes your hood. Except it doesn't remove your hood at the minute, because as a Master Chief Collection, the way that skulls enable is you get a menu on the front of the when you load in that you can turn skulls on and off. In original release Halo 2, skulls toggled on the moment you pick them up, and there was no way of toggling them off. Outside of restarting the game, if I remember right. So if you pick this up, you lost your HUD, and you lost your HUD for the remainder of that game session. So that was annoying. Yeah, pretty much every other skull only triggers on legendary difficulty. Most of them are quite deep in the levels, and as I've alluded to at the start of the stream, legendary difficulty is a complete pain in the fucking arse. I think there was only one other skull on the Xbox version that I legitimately collected, and that was because it was at the very start of the level it's on. It's one of the Arbiter levels. I think it's the one that gives you extra floaty physics, like around explosions and stuff. And you needed to use that to get access to another Easter egg in the game that I never actually managed to reach, because you have to go through a combat counter at the beginning that I just could never get through. Right, so this level, obviously we're already elevated from where we are meant to be, but so what you're meant to do is you get in this courtyard, you fight the enemies inside the building, and then you get several waves of enemies that come through the alleyways. You get some drones coming over there, and then finally you get some hunters that come through this door, and you just have to keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. Now, if you come in this alleyway, there's a little pile of dirt over here, which I think is still there in Anniversary. I hit the Anniversary button and now it's loading again. So we'll give it a second. Yeah, it's still here, pile of rubble. Oh, there's no captain keys. Anyway, so pile of rubble. from this pile of rubble, you can do a crouch jump up to this ledge, and then from there you can do a crouch jump up to this ledge. I don't know whether this is the most direct way of doing it, but it's the way I always knew. So without even needing to grenade jump, we're now on top of the roofs. And by the way, you can get across to some of these buildings that are like set dressing around the thing, and they're quite obviously fake. They don't exist, they're just... In the anniversary they exist, they're actually modelled, and in fact they've modelled some further back as well, which is quite interesting. That one was glitching out a bit. That's got some render issues when it starts to get off the edge of the screen. Oh, my computer is not liking this. I don't know why. I don't know what it's doing. But yeah, so you can see that some of these kind of distant buildings, and you can, if you do grenade jumps and move all around, you can get all the way up to them. Probably won't do it at the minute. There's not much to actually see over there. It's just, here's some geometry that isn't quite finished. Let's see, where do we want to be now? Over to here. Here. So this is like a broken down highway. There's a gameplay section that takes place here where Pelican comes down and picks up Sergeant Johnson. We're not going to see that. This highway doesn't go anywhere, it just... Okay. Wow, my computer is really not liking the anniversary version of me. I don't know whether it's chewing up on data streaming. Yeah, because if I'm still, I'm getting 100 frames a second, so it's not Ender chug, it must be data streaming chug. Yeah, so this highway, if you're on top of it, you're not meant to be able to get on top of it. It just ends, and then it's just, here's a black skybox. Oh, I think that's the problem. So in Classic, you can't see anything over there. I don't know what they've done to trim it, but there's nothing over there. In Anniversary, you can see the beach. That is a later part of the level. So probably what's happening is I'm completely breaking the sight lines and forcing it to load in a lot more geometry than it really wants to load in. Okay, that's why it doesn't like me, because I'm doing something that the game doesn't want me to. By the way, this structure here is a space elevator. It's slightly misplaced between the two versions. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a big landmark of the city that we're in, New Mombasa, which is based on Mombasa in Kenya, I believe, which is a quite equatorial city. So if you're building space elevators, which we currently can't do because we don't have the material technology to build a cable with sufficient tensile strength to remain connected between the surface of the planet and a satellite in geosynchronous orbit. But if you do build such a thing, you really want it to be attached as close to the equator as you can manage.
Sergeant, I need you on that bird.
Oh, we accidentally triggered the event with the Pelican.
Reinforcements into the city. They'll need an escort that isn't afraid of a little hostile.
There is no pilot in this Pelican. It is an autopiloted Pelican. I probably can jump on top of that and ride it up, but I'm not going to. So the entire point of coming onto this upper section is you can then jump down here. This is just a little road section that you normally can't get into. You come up here, and then this Hotel Zanzibar is kind of the midpoint of the level where you're trying to get to. So you're meant to come out through these alleyways back here. And you end up at Hotel Zanzibar, and then... Why would you not fascinate? And then, yeah, this is the halfway point of the level. So, as you can see, if you were willing to go across those rooftops, you can get through this entire section of the level completely trivially. Like, there's been no combat encounters whatsoever. We've just ran through and just completely ignored every enemy. Now, when I come back to this tomorrow, well, I say tomorrow, whenever I next stream Halo 2, we will in fact go through the alleyways, and this whole area is colloquially known as Sniper Alley. The reason for that, and they're not loading in at the minute because I'm approaching from the wrong direction, is there are jackals wielding sniper rifles throughout this whole area. On normal difficulty, they're not too bad. They're easy to deal with. On legendary difficulty, they're an absolute nightmare. Because one jackal sniper shot to any part of your body is an instant death, and in order to prevent people from kind of just learning positions, the enemies always reposition whenever you load a checkpoint. Like, they're not guaranteed to be in the same place, which means that you need to sight up and snipe and kill these jackals before they have a chance to get shot off, and that's true even when there's multiple jackals within, you know, who all have line of sight of the only space outside cover for you. Again, we're playing on normal difficulty where we won't have that problem, but it's part of the reason why legendary is such a fucking nightmare in this game. And it's part of the reason why if you're playing legendary, you just want to go over those rooftops. You don't want to deal with this. Again, if I was just wanting to blast through this game, I probably would do that even on normal difficulty, but I would like to show off kind of what the intended route is. I just wanted to go and show, hey, here's like a little detour you can take that just bypasses all that stuff, just as a FYI. Oh, the sign's the same. Oh, that's cute. So, that there is, what is that character called? Is it just the janitor? Effectively, it's an AI system that is kind of in charge of civil service controls for the city. It's a main character in Halo ODST, which released quite some time after Halo 2, but it's set kind of semi-concurrently to the events of Halo 2, I guess. So obviously this character didn't exist when the original release of Halo 2 came out. I've never actually properly played through Halo 2 with the anniversary graphics start to finish, so I didn't realise that they botted the janitor in, which is a good continuity nod, because again, there's nothing there in classic graphics, but in anniversary graphics, yeah, allusion to ODST, which is very good. Data streaming. Why is Chief's hand twitching? I don't know if that's coming up on stream, but I suppose Chief's hand is like really twitching quite badly. Yeah, have I got anything else to say at the minute? I don't think I do. I think part of the reason why I've never played through properly with anniversary graphics is because they kind of, I don't really want to call it a mistake, but it was certainly a different approach when they did Halo 2 Anniversary. They released Halo 2 Anniversary as part of Master Chief Collection when it had its original Xbox One release. And for me, playing through Master Chief Collection, I did own the Xbox One version. I didn't get it at launch. I got it quite some time after launch. But I've always wanted to play Master Chief Collection as kind of a, look, I want to revisit the games mostly as I remember them, but with a fresh coat of paint. Like, obviously, I was not playing with a mouse and keyboard in 2004. I wasn't playing at 1440p, 200 frames a second in 2004. You know, none of these things were happening. So, in reality, what I'm playing is quite different to what I originally had as a teenager. But nevertheless, this is obviously markedly different to this. Not so markedly different as it was in Halo 1 Anniversary, where they just ruined the visual style altogether, but certainly a different look. Anyway, let's restart the mission and skip the cutscene.
Wake up.
Shake it off, Marines! Clear
Also,
the
keep in
crash
mind
site. Go,
Cortana's
go,
an
go.
AI and therefore doesn't have any physical things. So that tapping on the window on the screen noise is just her making sound effects, which is weird. Surprisingly enough, no casualties from this crash that we know of. Presumably the pilot's dead because nobody, everyone here is armed, so whatever. Right, anyway, yeah. Save and quit, and we'll come back to that next time. I know we've only done one mission, but I've spent an hour talking shit about Halo 2. We're not even... The thing is, we're still on the Earth missions as well, so... guess what? As soon as we get off the Earth missions, I will have an awful lot to say, because I'll start going into the Halo 2... release campaign and how betrayed I felt by the way. I'm still not quite over it. By the way, that Halo 2 did not actually tell the story that the marketing claimed it would tell, and this wasn't like a Metal Gear Solid 2 why can't I play a Solid Snake situation. It was more that I thought they would be telling a story that would see us going to lots of new styles of terrain that hadn't been seen in the series before. And as you might guess, we end up on a Halo. And we've seen a Halo before, so we kind of don't get the new experience that I was anticipating at the time. But I'll cover that in more detail when we get closer to it. Anyway, that'll do us for tonight because it's nearly midnight. I was wanting to make a start again. I'd like to get at least the original trilogy finished before Infinite comes out, and I'm probably going to have another hiatus on the back half of this month, so the sooner I get on with this, the more likely I am to get it done. Alright. I'll try and stream again tomorrow evening. I've got to get some shopping done after work, but I'll be able to find some time, I think.